Hi, before we get started with the episode, we just wanted to point you in the direction of the social accounts we've set up for the show to help you guys engage with us and communicate and get involved with our show.
You can email us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com.
Emailing us will really be the best way to talk to us directly and conversate with us on air during the show.
Also, be sure to like You Can't Disappoint a Podcast on Facebook.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter at You Can't Disapod. That's disapod like disappoint. So there's one S and two P's. Well, thanks for tuning in, and let's kick off the episode.
Here we go.
Soy doctora Escudera. Me dicen que ustedes están en su segundo semestre, así que voy a hablar lentamente para entendernos.
Sí. Buenos días.
¿Me pueden decir en qué punto están en su libro de lectura?
Sí. Listen to this back and forth. It's like I'm at an embassy.
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
We're back. Welcome back to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. You know, just right off the top, because it's what we're talking about, it's about 2 o'clock Indiana time, November 5th right now. We don't know who the President of the United States is going to be. It's 2 days after election night. When this episode comes out, we'll probably know who the President of the United States is. And yeah, so that's what's going on right now. And Steven and I are not political experts in any way, but we both have strong emotional and real-life stakes in this election. So we're a little anxious.
Yeah, definitely things on our mind today other than community, but
Sure.
it was a nice, attempted distraction to watch the episode and
Yes.
and get into this, but yeah, very real world stuff going on. So hopefully by the time this comes out, we'll know who the president is and we'll be, dealing with the aftermath of that. But yeah.
Yes. I guess that's all to say for right now. I don't know. You know where we're at now. You guys were here a couple days ago. You understand.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Zach, and that was the chair.
Yeah, sure it was. And I'm Steven, and the best part of my day is when I turn on the Zoom call and for about 10 seconds when I think maybe I'll log on and he won't be there. But alas, today he was here, so we're back for another episode of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
We sure are. Shout out to our community papas over at Communities. Thank you for all you do. I've had the pleasure this week to play some Jackbox games with them. Like Kevin Lanigan was on a Twitch stream playing Jackbox games, and our papa played with us. And tonight I am recording with Community Papa and Alex from 6 Seasons in a Podcast to do an episode of their AP Bio Rewatch podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear
for
that. That should be really cool.
Yeah, so
AP
shout
Bio
out
is
to
a good
them.
show.
Yeah, I've grown to really, really like AP Bio. So check it out if you haven't watched it. It's got some community vibes, even if it's a little bit different. So shout out to Communities. Follow them if you are not yet. And how could you not be? How could you be listening right now and not be following Communities? Come on.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
Come on. Just pay respect. That's all we're asking. So, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, okay. We haven't recorded in 3 weeks.
I know, it's been a while. Hello.
We just talked to you last week to your ear holes about Modern Warfare, but thanks to the magic of prior scheduling, we recorded those episodes like a long time ago, and we haven't done this in a while. So we're back.
Yeah, it feels great. Hello.
Feels a little weird. Things are
You're
weird.
a little weird.
It's gonna get really weird.
What's new? What prior to Tuesday did you have going on, Zach?
Well, I did my Rocky Horror thing. I guess not a whole lot going on. Working a lot in the extra time. On Halloween, we went to a drive-in movie theater and saw a couple spooky movies together. That was fun.
Oh, nice. What movies?
So they were playing like Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream on one screen, and we went the hipster route and we saw Ghostbusters and They Live, which of course has Keith David from season 6 of Community. So that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
I recently finished up a pretty major like horror anime marathon where I think I got through
Sure.
like 10 shows in 2 weeks. Actually, yeah.
That's a lot.
Saw a couple really good ones. I won't go through the whole list, but Death Parade and Akame ga Kill were highlights for sure.
Okay.
But most
What was
recently,
the lowest? What was the worst? Was there something you watched that you didn't care that much for?
Yeah, I really didn't like Devilman Crybaby. It was by a director who I really like, but I did not enjoy the show. It was really weird. Everybody was like really naked the first couple episodes, like really, but it was just weird, and the whole like deepness of it didn't hit for me. I don't know. I was just
All right. Well, that's the anime report with Steven
Right?
Baker this week.
And
Thanks
most
for that.
recently, I just watched the 4th season of Rick and Morty and really enjoyed it. I watched like the whole thing yesterday. Really, really liked it. Probably not my favorite season still, but it was solid.
Rick and Morty is just a thing for me that when it came out, it was so new and so funny and so like kind of counterculture that I really enjoyed it. And it's lost some of that. But what show that has gone on this long that started with something that was really out of the box? You know, you do it more than 25 times, like The Good Place or something like that.
Yeah.
You start to kind of know what you're getting into. So I don't think it hits as hard for me as it used to. But it can still be really surprising and funny. And the amount of imagination they put into each episode of having a total different design that fit whatever they're doing is really cool.
Yeah, I really liked the episode where Morty had like the restart point.
Yeah.
Because my probably favorite anime that's come out this year was season 2 of ReZero, and it's a similar premise. So I was down
Nice.
with that sickness. Yeah, I you know what I'll say about Rick and Morty? Even though I don't enjoy the show as much as I used to, Summer is my favorite character. She cracks me the hell up. I'm a big Summer fan, and she had some good stuff.
I've always been a big Jerry fan, but maybe that's just saying something about myself.
No, I like Jerry. Jerry's probably my number 2 boo.
You know, today we're here to talk about Season 1, Episode 24 of Community. We're talking about the episode before the season finale. It's a sense of finality for our show for a moment, you know, kind of feeling here as we wrap that up. We're talking about English as a second language.
We did all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The only real good season of Community was the first season, so
Well, of
we'll
course.
just stop while we're ahead. So that's what we're talking about today, and, you know, we're reaching the end of our first season, and I feel like things have gone pretty far for us in this first season. We've gone from, you know, just being like, I'm going to buy a microphone, let's try to start a podcast, to having made some networking friends and to having people that we really appreciate listen to us talk about one of our favorite shows every week. So to kind of celebrate that, we're going to give you some shit.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We're going to do our first ever giveaway for you guys. It's going to start right now.
Boom, 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 boom.
Fire sale.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Oh my God.
Line up. It's going to
having a
start
fire.
right now. We're going to reveal the winner on November 23rd with our Season 1 wrap-up roundtable special that we will be doing, talking about the best and worst and all of the in-between about the whole entirety of Season 1. And, yeah, we're going to give you some stuff. We're giving, It's kind of a Choi and Abed in the Morning care package. You're going to get the entire series of Community on DVD.
The entire series?
Yes. We're even
All
throwing
6
in the
seasons?
4th one, even though you're not going to watch it.
Wow.
With just 6 easy payments. And along with the complete series on DVD, you're going to get some Choi and Abed in the Morning goodies, including one that I had to display for you right here. A Choi and Abed in the Morning mug.
Choi
Isn't
and
that
Abed
so
on
cool?
a morning mug.
Awesome. You're also going to get a Choi and Abed in the Morning t-shirt and 2 Community Choi and Abed in the Morning themed stickers that are very cute. It's all going to be yours. I think it's awesome. There are 3 ways that you can enter this giveaway that we're just doing just because we like you guys. How can you do that, Steven?
Well, I'll tell you, Zach. There are 3 ways to enter. The easiest way to enter is to retweet the tweet that we will put out about this giveaway.
You're probably watching it right now.
Yeah. Hello. Retweet it. Hit the little button at the bottom, and then hit retweet in the top right corner. But make sure you're following us because that is a stipulation. Now, the second way to enter, the kind of medium difficulty track, if you want to go that route, is there's going to be a secret word that we're going to say in our most recent episode.
Yes,
And
discussing English as a second language at some point. Who knows when?
Yeah, who knows? It could be
We
right
sure
now.
don't. But it's
But
not.
it wasn't. Yeah. So you're going to DM us that word on any social media platform that you follow us on. And that will be good for 2 entries. The easy way is 1 entry. That is 2 entries because of the increased difficulty. Now, the third, the top tier, the S level, our gold membership program, the third way to enter this contest is to actually write a review on whatever platform you choose to listen to us on. And then email us a picture, a screenshot, a grab, if you will, of that review, and that will gain you 3 whole entries.
And
That's
where do
crazy.
people email that, Steven? What's that email address
they
in
can-
case I want to enter?
Well, that would be if you type into your email address message folder and type send to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast at gmail.com.
You can email that to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. If you email in a photo of a review you leave for us on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else where you might listen to us, that'll get you 3 banging entries into
How
this
many?
giveaway. 3,3.
So does that mean, Zach, that there's a possibility they can get 6 whole entries?
And you know what? I'll tell you, Steven, next week when we cover the season finale, Pascal's Triangle Revisited, we will be giving an additional secret word. So those last 3 days of the giveaway, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you could get 2 more or get your 2 that you missed this week or whatever. Who cares?
So guys, think about that. That's 8 entries for $0 that you can win a whole bunch of stuff. So make sure you get in on that action.
Get involved and win some stuff from your friends at You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. And that being said, let's get into talking about this week's episode. English is a second language. Let's do some trivia.
Trivia! I have missed not knowing anything about this show.
All right, Steven, this week for trivia, how many questions you got?
I've got a total of 3. Tres, if you will.
I've got 3, and I've got a bonus question for you.
All right, so why don't you go first?
Sure, my first question is probably my toughest of the lot.
Okay.
It is, and you might not think it is, but there's a little trick to it. What are the dean's sound choices for the school as he's trying to calm them down on a frivolous finals week?
Crickets.
You don't know any of them? Oh, that was it. That is
Crickets.
one of them. That is one of them. I thought that was real for a moment.
The other... I don't know what the other one was. I'm going to guess
Okay.
an elephant.
The first one was a babbling brook in the very beginning of the episode, then crickets, and the hard one was in the very end of the episode. It was cut 5 on Sounds of the Serengeti is what played, and then he followed it up with a B-side from the same album called Antelope Slaughter at Ndutu.
Oh my god! I do remember seeing Antelope Slaughter at Ndutu across the screen.
All right,
That
what
was
you
good.
got
That was
for me, you
toughy.
son of a bitch?
All right. This one shouldn't be too tough. What time is anthropology? Anthropology? Anthropology.
Oh, I'm not certain of this one, actually, because I think I remember Spanish 103 was at like 6 a.m. and everyone was not so sure about it. I don't remember what time anthropology was at. Was it 10?
Close. It was noon.
Okay. That's a good time to have a class.
Yeah, for real. I still wouldn't have gone.
Okay, how much does Chang make as a bag boy?
Oh, $5 an hour plus tips?
You're supposed to tip your bag boy?
Here we go. What year is Jeff's Lexus?
2007?
Not quite. It is 2002.
Okay. I didn't catch that line, so I just guessed. Okay, what does Jeff say Annie looks like when she's trying to dress up?
Oh, balls. It was literally just in my head. A travel agent.
Mm-hmm.
And she
That
was
is
doing her
correct.
best to
That is
look
correct.
like a professor, which we'll dive into that later.
That's going to be the bulk of today's recap.
Yeah.
Friends.
For all you Jeff Annie stands out there, this one's for you.
We're finally drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Side note, the only shippers that should be like all over this episode are the Britta Abed ones. But
Okay.
yeah, because
Okay.
they're laying on each other. She's like has her arm around him, but
Okay.
no.
Okay.
All right, question 3 for me. Who scored highest and lowest on the Spanish final, and what were their scores? Just the highest and lowest. That's all I want.
Well, I hope you've got the rest of them because this is my bonus question. Blah, blah, blah. Highest was Jeff. No, that's a lie. Highest was Annie with 95, and lowest was Troy with 68.
Okay,
Can you
want me to
tell
fill in
me
the
the rest
rest?
of them in
Okay.
between?
Now,
You don't
I
have to tell them
intentionally
in
did
any-
not write them down.
Yeah, you didn't have to. You don't have to say them in any order.
Okay, I'm gonna try to though.
Sure.
Next would be Pierce with 70.
Yes.
I'm gonna go next was Britta with no wrong.
I haven't
Next,
said anything.
no, I told myself wrong, but I was
Okay.
right. Britta had a 78. Jeff had an 80. Shirley had an 81, and Abed had an 85.
You are so very close.
What one did I
Steven.
miss? Britta's?
Yes. Britta's
79.
placement was correct, but yeah, she had 79.
She had
but that
79,
was
not
a
78.
very impressive try. What have we got from our listeners this week?
All
for
right,
our
so we
trivia?
have a couple emails, which I'm happy about because there was a big gap. You guys didn't forget about us. We didn't forget about you.
I did forget about Steven. I was like, I
Yeah.
gotta record a thing, but who's
Yeah.
who's the
There's about 14 minutes of really awkward video recording that I had because I mixed up my days. And yeah, so Cam Soda fans, I'll get at you next week. Oh, no. Okay.
I don't know what that
this
means.
email, the one I'm going to read first, is actually from, it's not quite Christmas, but Papa Noel himself.
Papa Holiday?
Papa Holiday. Pop. From Communities. Looking forward to it, guys. Answers below. So the first question is, what did Pierce's Spanish book teach him? I am as
We were
lost.
both shaking our heads no at each other. Can't tell
I am
you.
so
Next.
lost. Okay, and number 2.
Next.
What season 6 reference starts here?
I can tell you what season 4 sort of reference starts here, but I don't know.
Is it? Yeah, I have no clue.
We're a little
okay.
rusty, folks. A little rusty.
Yeah. Oh no, we're only getting one of these. What does Troy think Jeff's schedule is for?
Do you know this one? Well, let me think about it. What does Jeff think Troy's schedule
No,
is
what does
for?
Troy think Jeff's
Troy
schedule is
think
for?
Jeff's schedule is for. I guess we'll see. Good thing they include the answers.
Yeah.
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
And here's what we'll get right, Papa. We'll make you proud.
Okay.
What job did Chang have before Greendale? He
was a bag boy.
Nice. Okay.
Crushed it.
Pierce's Spanish book taught him to talk dirty in Spanish.
Okay.
What season 6 reference starts here? Avatar. Honda episode, he says.
They talk about not liking Avatar. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then what does Troy think Jeff's schedule is for? Buying a flying car. Okay, I do remember that.
Oh,
scene.
yeah. That was a
Yeah.
funny joke. Okay.
And then we were right, bagging groceries. So thank you, Pop, for that.
For challenging us so.
For reminding us that you are supreme.
Better than us. You're better
Yeah.
than us.
And now, exciting little email here from our good friend MJ, who you got to hear in our special trivia last week for Modern Warfare. If you haven't heard that yet, please go check that out because that was a lot of fun to do.
It was a very special time in my life, certainly.
Yeah.
What's he got to say?
It's really good. MJ says, "Hey, Zach and Steven. Thank you again for inviting me to your podcast on Modern Warfare. That was such a surreal but hilarious time. Hope to do it again soon if you feel like it." Yeah.
Was it
think
surreal
that-
because he got on and he's like, oh, these are real people. They're really like that.
He said, "Wow, I was praying that these were bots. It was a joke, but it wasn't a joke." He's very interested to hear our opinions on English as a second language. He said he has mixed feelings about this episode, mostly because of the conflict between Annie and the study group.
Okay.
This is a well the show will return to in future seasons, and I always found it weird how the study group keeps forgiving Annie for doing these admittedly screwed up things. I
Okay.
perfectly understood Jeff's anger and reaction when he confronted Annie, but I feel like this community at large might disagree on that. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about it. As for the MVP, I think it's pretty clear Pierce wins this pretty handily this week. He got to sleep with the replacement teacher and helped the entire group pass Spanish in one fell swoop, for crying out loud.
Okay.
As for the funniest moment, it's hard for me to pinpoint one for this episode because this episode, while good, was very grounded and dramatic, but I have to admit the whole Good Will Hunting spoof with Troy and Abed was just so random and on point that I can't help but laugh every time it came up.
Sure.
Hope y'all enjoy my quiz this week. Unlike Dr. Escudera, I won't be making it any easier on you guys, and then had like a little evil face.
Well, our track record isn't great, MJ. So...
Zach, remember when we were like in our like friend circles like knew more about this show than anyone else like ever?
Remember
would?
when we were like, yeah, we could talk about Community.
We could
know
talk
enough
about it
stuff about
easy.
Community.
Yeah. Oof.
Let's see.
All right. According to Troy, the movie Avatar is a what? He liked it.
It's
He was
like
pro.
I know this one. I don't know the exact wording, but he starts to like explain it when they're all talking about it, and he says something about it being a metaphor for Jesus, I believe.
That's amazing.
I believe.
Do you like Avatar?
I saw it once when it was in theaters when there was so much hype around it, and I wasn't impressed by it, but I'm sure it's because there was so much hype around it, and I was like a 12-year-old. So I could watch it again. Now, the Avatar stuff at Disney World is really impressive.
Avatar's Disney?
At Animal Kingdom.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
There's the big ride. It's like one of the biggest rides in all of Disney World. It's like always like a 4 or 5 hour wait. And we got to the park like earlier than anyone else so we could get in line for this ride, not have to wait that long. And literally, like, I do not shit you, people were trampling people to get to the Avatar ride once it was time to get in for the morning. Like, someone like nudged, I guess that was at Magic Kingdom. Lily got like injured by someone at one of the times when we were doing it. But the Avatar ride, it's like a simulator.
Is that fun?
Oh, yeah. It's like a 3D simulator, and you're on this seat that, like, the ride vehicles are kind of like bicycle seats. And it's like you're riding on, I don't know Avatar well enough, the flight of
the Banshees.
The Banshee. You're riding on a Banshee. And the thing is so high-tech that on your legs, if you hug the seat, you can feel the Banshee breathing.
That's
while
amazing.
You're on the ride. There are places to grab it, so when you're going through it, you kind of feel like you're the one pulling it to go certain directions.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the ride is just like a tour through Pandora, and it feels really real, and it's a lot of fun.
I really would love to do that.
It's a lot of fun. Anyway, Avatar, meh. But that ride is really cool.
Well, I like the
Was
movie
that
quite
the
a
answer?
bit. I think that's like one that we even bought on DVD. Yeah. Bought the DVD for that one.
I still buy DVDs sometimes.
I'm just kidding. I'm acting like I'm not going to spend like $80 on the Neon Genesis Evangelion DVD when it gets released in the U.S. next year. It's a show from the mid-90s, but it has not been available for purchase in the U.S. since then, so very exciting times.
Sure.
Question 2.
Nailed
it. What is the date of Jeff's unmovable appointment? Bonus points if you can name the restaurant where the appointment will take place.
It's March 20-something.
3rd, I think.
March 23rd, 2013.
Is it like O'Doul's or like Mahaffey's or like McConaughey?
It's like a steakhouse bar of some sort.
McDougal, McDongle, McDavish's.
McDonald.
McDowell.
Nailed it. Next.
Number 3. Complete this burn from Annie. Of course you'd think that Britta... Let me try again. Complete this burn from Annie. Of course you'd think that, Britta. It's obvious from your name that...
That your parents smoke pot or weed or whatever word they used.
The ganj.
The electric jazz cabbage.
There we go. What was the year of Jeff's Lexus? Bonus points you can tell me how Abed pinpointed the year of that car without Jeff telling him.
Well, that would be what, a 2002? Is that what we established?
2002, and that would be because Abed, when there were some fireworks going off, heard a bunch of car alarms go off on the street, and it sounded like a brand new Lexus, and it was brand new in 2002.
Nailed it.
Number 5, how did Kevin the janitor lure Troy into the bathroom to demonstrate his plumbing prowess?
With free cake.
Free cake, yeah, it would have worked on me too. I wouldn't have gone to wash my hands because I would have just...
Well, why start now?
It would have been a mess, yeah.
The pandemic didn't make me wash my hands.
And free cakes you're not going to make me. Excluding Jeff, Who else in the study group can curl their tongue like Annie? I know Shirley did it.
Pierce
I thought
did
it was
it.
at least all of them not. I didn't see Britta do it, but
Pierce did it. I think
Shirley
Britta
did it. Abed did it. Was it everyone except for Troy?
Maybe Jeff. Did Jeff do it? Jeff couldn't do it.
It said excluding Jeff.
Yeah. There you go. Maybe just Troy. I saw a lot of them do it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't do it. Can you do it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it. I have no idea how to even try.
You gotta do some exercises.
Oh, trust me, I have.
You see what you do is you just take a knife and you
Sure.
put it like blunt side down, and then it's like hold the knife but don't cut yourself, and then you have to make the hot dog. Cut that out. That was weird.
Don't tell me what to cut out.
Fix that. Scrub that.
Do it, swine. That was you towards me, not me towards you.
No, my headset booped because I think the battery went low.
Oh,
But I could
I
just
didn't
plug it
see
in.
that
It
either.
scared the hell out of me though. It was like boop boop boop.
We're off to a great start this week.
We are really
We're
nailing
always
it.
here to deliver quality.
Yeah.
You can't disappoint a podcast.
All right.
Hey, but we're giving you free shit, so don't complain, okay?
Yeah.
Don't complain.
Yeah.
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 Let's see
Duh.
Ken Jeong and Joel McHale do that on their podcast.
Yeah. What do they give you?
Yeah.
Number 7.
They do
What
good
unique?
work over there.
Wow. I am an idiot. What unique item was Annie wearing when the study group found out that she snitched on Chang? That was her bottle cap necklace made by one of her rehab mates.
People. Okay, yeah.
And number 8, we already got this one. Arrange the study group members in order of their scores in the Spanish 102 final exam, highest to lowest. So that was Annie 95, Abed 85.
Shirley was 81. Jeff was 80. Britta was
79.
Pierce was 70, not years old quite yet, and Troy was 68.
Our boy Troy.
But they all passed, and that's what's important.
Yeah. Tierra del Fuego, MJ. Land
Thanks
of
for that,
Fire.
buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. So something I learned researching this episode was that was a reference to Fletch. I guess in Fletch, when he is Chevy Chase, it's one of it. I don't know. It's a movie he made. I've heard. He always when someone speaks to him in Spanish, he responds with that. Like that's like the Spanish phrase that he knows.
I got you. Interesting choice of one to know. Chevy Chase had some funny things that he did with himself in this episode. Sure.
We are here, of course, to talk Season 1, Episode 24, English as a Second Language. It was directed by Gail Mancuso. This was her only directing credit on Community. It was written by Tim Hobart, who I've learned through Zach Braff and Donald Faison's podcast that he was also a frequent writer over at Scrubs. And he also was one of the co-writers on Intro to Film and Intro to Statistics. He wrote Debate 109 by himself, and he co-wrote Investigative Journalism. This is his final writing credit on the series. And
really?
He's done some good work this first season.
Yeah, I wonder why he...
I think he's a pretty prolific TV writer, so I think maybe he comes in to help a show find its voice, and then he has other projects.
I gotcha.
I'm not 100% on that at all. And it originally aired on May 13th, 2010.
So pretty close to
3 years and like a week and a half until he's expecting to graduate.
So that's pretty nice, setting it up like finals, it's accurate, it's topical.
Let's talk about that. What did you think about this episode, Steven?
I actually really enjoyed it.
I did too.
It is not a secret on this podcast that Good Will Hunting is my favorite movie of all time, and even though that plot really didn't amount to a whole lot this episode,
It was really just a bit that kind of led into Troy's plot, even if it was a little influenced by, sure.
I enjoyed that. And I also I'll get into it a little later, but I related to this episode a little more heavily than I remembered, which was kind of funny because when I saw this episode, it was a long time ago.
And that hadn't happened yet?
Yeah, correct.
I have no idea what you could be talking about, so I'm excited to hear that when we get to it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this episode too, and I would go as far as to say that of all of the episodes this season that kind of have a piece of the overarching story of the first season, I think this one's my favorite. I think it does a really good work for the season and the story that they're trying to tell with these characters. And if they added in the resolution to them all kind of knowing something was weird at the end of Modern Warfare after Jeff and Britta had hooked up, if there was like a resolution to that in this episode, I think this could have been the first season finale.
I think so too. I wonder if maybe like how the planning went for this and Modern Warfare being in order, because Jeff's kind of an ass at the beginning of the episode, and we'll get into it a little bit, but
I know from the commentary that this was the 20th episode that they filmed and the 24th episode of the season that aired.
Yeah.
While the season was airing, after the network was really happy with what was going on with Modern Warfare, they ordered 2 more episodes to the series. So they filmed 2 extra episodes at the end and kind of shuffled them in with the other last episodes.
Okay. Neato.
But yeah, I really liked it. I think there's a lot of good character moments. I think it's got one of the better plot lines that's just school-based of the entire season.
Totally.
And it's got a lot of great one-liners. Not exactly hilarious, but it's got a lot of good one-liners. What was your funniest moment?
Okay, so I have 2 that is between the first one.
Sure.
The only reason I did a second one is 'cause I don't know if this one like is enough to be one. But
whatever, you were the one who decides. If it was enough to make you laugh more than anything else.
I think my hardest and most consistent laugh was in the opening of the episode when Annie kind of reveals that the Spanish 3 class is available at 6 a.m. And she's like, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. And Pierce goes, 6 a.m. The way he says that makes me laugh very hard. And the other one would be Troy's desk switch as a great moment because
that was a good moment
it was
too.
really funny.
Mine's neither of those. I think the scene that had the most laughs for me was that whole scene when Jeff is yelling at Annie. There are a lot of really great one-liners and little character moments that add up to make that scene really funny for something that's a little bit tense for the study group. So that would be what made me laugh the most of the time.
Good choice.
Let's dig into it. Is there anything else we need to discuss before we do this thing? Any secrets you haven't told me yet?
Okay, so you remember that time at summer camp when you woke up and you thought that you wet the bed?
Every night of my life.
Yeah. Well,
you peed all over me while I was sleeping, Steven?
I didn't say that.
Remember to enter this giveaway that we're doing, guys. Those 3 ways are on Twitter with our pinned tweet. You can DM us on any of our social medias, but, basically Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, with a secret word that will be given a little bit later in today's episode. And, of course, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. Snap a picture of that to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. And, get into that thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this episode and forget about whatever Steven was saying before I started saying that stuff.
Yeah, for our gold members on the OnlyFans and Patreon, if you want to win yourself a set of Zach's pee sheets, just go ahead and resubscribe for another 3 months, and we got that to you.
For anyone who missed earlier, that's not what we're going to be mailing you if you enter our giveaway. It'll be something else for sure. So this episode.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so the episode starts with an announcement from the dean over the speaker. It's finals week. We're feeling that sense of season finality right from the very beginning. The school year is ending. It kind of feels like, how they had the episodes that were towards the end of the first half where it's like, oh, it's the end of the first semester. And the dean wants to calm everyone down, so he's been playing soothing sounds of nature for everyone to help them relax instead of his voice. And they started with a babbling brook, which is a perfectly suitable, peaceful sound.
Yeah.
Do you use sound like white noise for anything?
Not really white noise. What I'll do is I'll put on like one of those lo-fi relaxing music videos that's 8 hours long, and sometimes they'll have some ambient sounds in the backgrounds of them when I'm just either reading or going to sleep or something, just for fun.
We sleep to an app that creates sound. It's like running water sound, and it's pretty heavy.
Nice.
It's mostly because in our old apartment, it was you could hear other people if you didn't have something to tune it out, and that would keep me up at night. And we don't really have that here, but now I'm just kind of used to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a funny bit, and everyone is immediately turned off by it. You know, instead of this relaxing sound, it's just kind of like static noise pouring through all the speakers at all times while you're trying to study. And we've got a nice little table scene here where they're talking about Avatar, like we mentioned for a second. Some of them loved Avatar. You know, Troy really liked Avatar. He's really quick to coming on board with it. They're talking about this final. They're not worried about it. We get introduced to this tape recorder that Annie has that she's been using to take notes all season. I liked the little Pierceism here. When
Spoiler alert.
You mean nerd alert? And he's like, alert nerd. I don't know. It's a good Pierceism.
It's a very good Pierce.
Close but no cigar.
Yeah. Things like that I like about Pierce because it's almost like the times in It's Always Sunny when Danny DeVito like doesn't seem to really know what's going on, but he's there. Those are the times when I like Pierce the best.
Absolutely. When he's not saying anything racist, he's just being an out of touch old man. This is when Annie brings up that everyone's gonna need to sign up for Spanish 103 because they've been doing this class as a group. You know, she assumes that they're all going to move on to the next one as a group, and this is pretty much the conversation of the episode. Jeff immediately goes into, oh, well, you know, I'm just here to get my degree. And it's not in a way that discounts the friends he's made in the study group, but he says pretty plainly, like, I don't really need Spanish 103. I wasn't really planning on taking it.
Yeah.
Do you think this is douchebag Jeff we're seeing in this episode, or do you think it's justified?
I think that to this point, justified. Because he goes on later on to kind of explain that his schedule, you know, to do it in the time that he wants to, he has to have a full schedule, so he doesn't really have time to take a class he doesn't need.
Totally.
I think he gets a little dickish about it later on, you know, with discounting the kind of, you know, the importance of the group and things like that. But for the most part, I actually do feel like he's justified, especially watching the episode more than once. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
We get a little, Jeff apartment watch update here. He does mention that he doesn't need to learn Spanish any better because he knows the family downstairs hates him, and he doesn't need to understand why. So he doesn't need to understand what they're yelling underneath him. So it sounds like he's got a new place.
That's good. He's out of the car, finally.
Which is good because it's going to get smashed in this episode a little bit later. Alert nerd. Sorry to spoil. Yeah. Annie's pretty open to be like, I need this group. I like it to stay together, and everyone pretty much agrees. And Annie kind of tries to tell Jeff what to do. Mm-hmm. This is definitely some of Annie's anxieties coming out, but it's also, I don't know. I get it. They're friends now. But one thing that this episode dabbles with is that in real life, friends that met as a study group don't have to continue being a study group to still be friends or even to hang out as a group. You know, you could go do so many other things. You could even hang out in this room whenever you feel like it.
Yeah, and I feel like it really kind of points at Annie being the youngest of the group, even though Troy's the same age, but Annie, you know, she hasn't had adult friends before.
Oh, sure. And you know, she wasn't particularly popular in high school, so she probably hasn't had a group of friends like this before, potentially.
Exactly.
Must be nice. No one wants to take Spanish 103, though, once they hear the time. There's that Pierce moment. I see what you mean. He gives up... he So Annie says Spanish is at 6 a.m., and everyone that was just ready to sign up for this doesn't want to anymore since it's that early. And it's like Pierce gives a thumbs up and says 6, and then he realizes that nobody else wants to do it. He's like, oh, never mind.
He's just a half second behind everyone else.
6, and I don't think that's character work. I think... There are a couple of weird Chevy Chase movements in this one that I like. Yes, Steven just did the exact one. We'll get there later.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Oh, man. After no one wants to do the 6 a.m. time, Dean Pelton, this joke's a little bit of a stretch, but I'll allow it. He comes up with the next sound of the wilderness or whatever and plays some cricket noises. It's a funny thing that leads to a full theme song sequence.
I was so happy.
Do you want to hear something interesting that I learned from the audio commentary this week about the theme sequence?
Yeah.
When we see Yvette Nicole Brown's name on the cootie catcher, it's a cake with a knife into it, because you assume, like, you know, Shirley is a mother.
Yeah.
She likes to bake. She has her online brownie hopes. Apparently, there's a conspiracy theory during the first season of Community that this is a reference to the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson.
That's a reach.
But they brought it. It was like enough of a thing that they brought it up on the audio commentary that they were like,
They said what?
They were like, I can see why people would think that, but we never thought of that. And Donald was like, yeah, we were busy making a show. we weren't really thinking about stuff like that.
That's hilarious. I mean, not the murder of Nicole Brown, but
yeah.
if it does not fit.
If the cootie catcher fits, you gotta quit.
Yeah, that's the rules.
After the theme song that is just chock full of conspiracy theory information, we kind of have this running thing this week of there being like a countdown timer of how long it's until finals. I kind of like that. It adds
do too.
To the stakes.
Gives a sense of urgency. And I like that.
I remember in real life, the finals week was a stressful time. That a lot of the people who really cared about their grades, it was like, I cannot do anything but study.
Yeah.
I never did that, but it seemed like a lot of stress, and I was like, why would you? I'm just gonna watch TV. I'm just chilling.
I've always been very grateful that I'm not a nervous test taker. You know, because my mentality's always been I either know it or I don't.
Sure.
You know, so I may like cram a little bit of something.
Even though,
but
yeah,
like,
you totally could learn it if you didn't know it. But
yeah, but
I like that mentality. It's like it is what it is. If I know it, I know it. If I don't, I don't.
You know, I put in the work the first 3 quarters of the game. I can just coast the fourth. Words to live by, kids. If you're in school and you've worked hard most of the year, just take the second semester off. Just chill.
I'll always remember, like, in Mrs. Joyce's class when I had to write an essay, and it'd be like, explain, I don't know, something that I did not know how to explain, and I would find a way to, you know, make a paragraph of explaining the question, and then like a page and a half of likening it to something else that I knew how to explain. And then she'd write notes on it. She'd always be like, what are you doing?
Well, that's better than in Thornburg's class, which we had together,
Oh,
where I just didn't write the essays. I was like, I'll do the vocab things in class on Fridays.
It wasn't her, but I had a really tough English teacher one year, and I was struggling. And English was a class that I enjoyed because I always enjoyed writing, and I was struggling. And then, like, halfway through the semester, or like right before this hell finals week, he was replaced by another teacher.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then the replacement was someone who I liked a lot, and then
I think it's the same
teacher
teacher we're thinking of. I think she's
I think
a
it is.
fantastic teacher. And she's still like teaching right now, right? Like,
I hope so.
She's great.
A student teacher turned a replacement teacher who was one of the best teachers I ever had.
Easily fantastic.
If not the best. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Annie's still stressed about what's going on with the study group, and she brings up anthropology, which does end up being the class they take in season 2 together.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, Zach, there was a period of my life where I wanted to be a forensic anthropologist when I grew up, like Dr. Temperance Brennan from Bones.
Is that why you wanted to do it?
Yeah.
And were you, like, how old when this was your dream?
Too old for it to have been my dream realistically, because I knew I didn't like school that much by then.
See, I'm in the point in my life where I'm just like, I'm not good at anything. I can't do any of this. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a fireman, but also an astronaut.
Football playing truck. King in space.
Sure.
How's that working out for you? Are you winning, son?
No.
Go, girl.
There's this moment where Shirley's like hyping herself up, and she gives herself a go girl, and Abed just coldly turns his shoulder and says, you just go girl to yourself. And Shirley's like, shut up.
Because even Abed knows that you can't go girl yourself.
Right. It's got to be extended to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's on board with anthropology once they learn that the class is at noon, and this is a community thing that gets repeated a lot. That's a joke that kind of grates on me sometimes when they'll like all decide they're going to do something, and they'll be like, anthropology, and they all point at each other and say it. They do that with so many things, and I think it's something that like season 4 like overused.
Oh,
kind
no.
of like how they do the like, what's the deal, Jennifer Beal, or like they'll say jokes like that too.
Yeah.
Not some of my favorite. Sorry, folks. Jeff's not willing to commit to anything.
I like Jeff's shirt though.
Other than, he has a nice shirt. He's not willing to commit to anything other than this outgoing date that he's pre-planned for, what was it,
May 23rd.
not to buy a flying car, but to have a table at Morty's Steakhouse where he'll celebrate becoming a lawyer again, which can only happen if he takes the classes that he needs to take. He uses the word load, which Pierce is quick to, excuse me, sir, I have a comment. And Jeff's like, don't bother. It's interesting because Jeff does graduate Greendale in the season 4 finale, which did air in May of 2013. I think May 9th is what it said. So it kind of tracks. He could have had that dinner a couple weeks after the graduation.
Yeah, that's cute. That's nice. Good for you, Jeffrey.
That's nice.
That's nice. This is where I think Jeff was a little dickish.
Yeah, he says stuff like, I'm not planning my schedule around BFFs. But is he wrong? Is he saying anything that's like...
No,
I don't know.
I just think he's being a little cold to his group of friends, you know?
He sure isn't offering any alternatives. He isn't like,
Yeah.
well, if we're not going to take a class together, we could do this. We could meet up this way. He's just like, be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not really like saying he doesn't want to be around the people.
It's
either.
true. It's absolutely true. I think maybe Jeff's a little on edge because he's stressed about finals too.
That's true. This is when we get the Britta's parents smoke pot line because Britta's like, we're all going to be friends. I believe in unity and love. And Annie's like, shut up, hippie.
Yeah, it's the Annie dig at Britta is not the most common kind of crossfire in this show, but when it happens, it tends to cut.
Pierce has a lot of good interjections in this one. He ends the conversation with, he's like, I haven't said a single thing this whole time, and I won't accept it, or something like that. I feel like that's just Chevy saying that on set.
That's just Chevy, yeah. This whole
they're
episode
like,
could have been
that
him
tracks.
ad-libbing, honestly.
Chang walks into the class. This is a really good Chang episode for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that he walks right into the room to start class. The first thing is, Jeff, can I talk to you in private? And instead of walking out to the hallway with Jeff to talk to him in private or bring him up to the front of the class to talk to him in private, he needs everyone to leave.
Well, and
act like they're doing something that he told them to do so he can talk to Jeff in private.
And I like that he and Jeff both had this understanding before, like, he told them to get up because Jeff wasn't going to move. He was sitting perfectly still. So this is like, they both understood, like, no, everyone's going to go.
Yeah. They have a conversation. This scene is probably one of the lower moments of the episode for me, this conversation between Jeff and Chang, just because it drags a little bit. I like the bit where everyone's leaving. Pierce closes the door as if he's staying, and Chang's like, other side of the door, please. And he does this, like, pounce where he, like, jumps with his hands at 5, you know, and then he starts to leave and gives a thumbs up. They just, Chevy just... I don't know this week.
He jumped.
I don't know.
Why did he jump?
It's stuff that as a kid watching the show I thought was really funny Pierce moments, but this is so clearly just Chevy being Chevy. And they knew if they had like a take, maybe 2 every now and then to get what they wanted out of him, so this is what they have to do. So Pierce leaves the room. It's a very funny bit of Chevy weirdness. And then we get this conversation of Jeff and Chang. And I don't know, what was there anything funny you took away from this scene?
No.
I think Chang is a really funny character, and Ken Jeong does really well with whatever they give him. But whenever they try to make him a little more true to life, and whenever he like is trying to relate to another character, unless it's something like in the Halloween episode when he and Jeff kind of team up, he's still like the oddball.
Yeah.
I don't know. He gets to be the oddball a little bit later in this episode, but there's not a lot to unpack here. What's happening is that he's revealing to Jeff that he's not really even a teacher at all. He's definitely not a professor, and he's not even a teacher. He faked it. His band dreams didn't work out because no one was ready for an Asian man on guitar. And he had bag boy jobs that weren't giving him enough money, so he faked his way to being a Spanish teacher. Do you think this is a good decision from the writing staff? Do you think they pull it off well. I think they pull it off decently, but the reasoning
They
that he
pull it
got to
off
this
fine,
position
but
is
it's a little.
It doesn't seem like something they came up with at the beginning. It seems like something that they added.
Like they're like, oh, people like Chang, let's give him more stuff to do. And I do stand corrected because I said that nothing really funny came from this. I did like the joke when he said keytar and Jeff said, did you say keytar or guitar like a hillbilly?
Right.
And that was funny.
I think Jeff has a pretty good showing this episode. He has a decent amount of one-liners that work, and he also, I don't buy into the Jeff asshole thing in this episode. I think he's pretty justified, even when he's mad at Annie, kind of like how MJ said. He's pretty justified for why he's upset at Annie. Not a lot to say here.
Yeah. Shout out to Sesame Street. Recently told somebody that, I plan on giving my kids a healthy dose of Sesame Street.
I'm thinking for my kids, it's going to be just a lot of the dirtiest horror anime you can point me towards.
Oh, I got some for you.
Is that the bunny one? Or is it worse?
Oh, there's worse.
Like, okay, kids, go over to Uncle Steven's house. Steven, just let him watch some cartoons or something for a while.
You got it.
Oh, man.
All right, kids, we're going to watch this one with the subtitles, so I hope you can read.
I'll just read it to you. I'm not crazy about the chair creaking.
I
Sounding
don't
like a
think
fart
it's funny.
bit. I don't think it's funny in real life when there's a clear difference between chair sound and flatulent sound. They do have some similarities,
but not
like,
in that kind of chair.
When you creak in a chair or you sit down in a chair and there's like the air deflating kind of noise, and either the person sitting down wants to call extra attention to themselves just so everyone knows that they didn't fart.
Yeah.
Or that the person sitting next to you is like, oh, you eat a lot of chili today? And I don't know. It's every person who does that.
Yeah, each and every one.
Sorry. Sorry.
Especially you 12-year-old girl listening to this podcast. You think you're funny? Well, you're not.
I feel like we need to take it easy on anyone who's like 12 that's listening to our show. You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Learn now what's funny and what's not.
And there's a really dramatic pan down to reveal that Annie left her recorder in the room while this happened and recorded the entire conversation. You pretty much know exactly what's going to happen with this as soon as you see it.
Yeah. They had to show it was there. And now starts
something that we can actually talk about a little bit. We get the Good Will Hunting bit. Steven is very keen to say that it's his favorite film of all time. In the audio commentary, it was a Twitter question that brought up to Dan, had they considered making this go a little bit longer, do a little bit more with the reference? And Dan was like, not really. He was like, I just included this to talk about how much I really don't like Good Will Hunting.
Oh, Dan Harmon.
And he was like, everyone that thinks that they like it, you should go watch it again. You probably won't.
You can say that. Well, joke's on you, Dan Harmon.
I'm not taking a side in this. I've seen Good Will Hunting once, and I thought it was really good when I watched it. But I would probably need to see it again to be able to really cement if I think it's a good movie or if I think it's like a great movie.
Yeah.
But Dan doesn't like it. He thinks the story is lazy, and he doesn't like that the character's name is Will Hunting and that the movie is called Good Will Hunting.
I'll give him that one. That point, I will give you. I'm blaming that on Ben Affleck, because I bet Matt Damon's like, here's this awesome story I have. I'll let you name the character. Ben, what do you want to name him? He's like, what about Will Hunting? That was my Ben Affleck
It's like
impression.
he's hunting for goodwill, but his name's Will Hunting, and he's good.
And I'll play his best friend.
Will Hunt. Yeah.
Because no one ever
Just
said
up.
Good Ben Affleck.
The Academy's like, shut up and take my Oscars.
I wish someone told me Good Ben Affleck, but they didn't.
I think it's more of a case of, they school Good Will Hunting in the pilot of Community. When Jeff's like talking about, and it's the same people that gave an Oscar in screenwriting to Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Where's that in your trivia questions, MJ? Come on.
Pack the car and have it yad.
Regardless of the Good Will Hunting of it all, I really, really like this Troy through line in this episode.
I do too.
A lot of things about it, both what's specific to this episode and how this becomes one of Troy's biggest plot lines in like season 3.
Yeah.
So they were setting this up just as a little thing to pick up at some point in the future, and they do quite well with it there too.
I think I really like how like against it Troy is, because that sets it up even better for,
Yeah, Troy walks out to this chalkboard, and we say the Good Will Hunting bit. They're nerds looking at. It doesn't really look like an equation at all, but they're nerds looking at this thing on a chalkboard and saying that it's unsolvable, and they walk away. Troy comes by, like your average plain simpleton that you don't expect much out of, and you think that he's going to see it and know how to solve it, a la Good Will Hunting. He picks up the chalk and then just puts it in his pocket to steal it, which is a really funny turn of events. And this thread continues, though, because we're being introduced to his knack for plumbing or appliance repair, and he tries to use the water fountain, which doesn't work. Someone has handily left their tools right next to it, so he grabs a wrench and literally just tightens one thing like 2 twists, and then it works again. I think it's really funny. I think the janitor plumber guys, especially the lead one who takes a lot of stake in Troy's potential, is very funny.
I can't remember what I've seen him in the most, but I know he's a very funny character actor in the stuff that he's been in.
He reminds me just a little bit of Tim Meadows.
Yeah, I see it.
The way he delivers his lines, I think I think this is a really good plot line, and it's a highlight in an episode that's like just kind of an oddity that they put into this episode that does a lot of good for a kind of a straightforward episode of Community.
Fun fact about me, to bring myself down a peg, 'cause I know you all think that I'm, this perfect specimen. For a long time in my life, I did not know that Tim Meadows and Don Cheadle were not the same person. Because I would see Tim Meadows stuff on SNL, like old clips and stuff, and I was sure that it was Don Cheadle.
So Troy gets caught having fixed the water fountain, or the janitors walk in and see what he had been doing, and they chase him down, and he's like, "Come back here!" And I love that they paint this as such a high stakes thing when it's
he twisted one thing on a water fountain.
Right. And of course, in Good Will Hunting, you're like, why did this person with this? And then he's like, whoa, check this out. He actually fixed it. And now water comes out of it. And they're both so amazed. They had no idea how to fix this water fountain. Now we get another scene with not a lot to unpack here. This is where Annie is studying, listening to her class while she studies. And she hears conveniently just the one little clip that she needed to hear of Chang saying, "I'm not really a teacher." The community that in the season 3 Halloween special, Abed makes them sit until the right time for it to come on the radio.
That's
in
what's
movies
good.
stuff doesn't. That's literally what they're doing here. She just happens to have exactly the right recording clip. But whatever, it's only a 20-minute episode. You only have so much time. And it sets up this moral quandary for Annie, who's really keen on keeping the study group together and in a class, that Chang's not a real teacher, and if he's found out, everyone will have to retake the class. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's really what would happen if us? Because I'm sure it's not totally unplausible for a teacher to miscredit their prior accomplishments or credentials, and do you think that would come back on the class?
I think that it's possible at a college
Maybe
level.
College.
I don't know that in a community college Spanish 102 class that it would, but I could definitely see in a university doing that. But at the same time, universities are like, you know what, man, just take a credit.
I guess it depends on the school. Mm-hmm. I feel like Dean Pelton would be that way.
Yeah, he'd be like, let's just sweep
I'm
this
not
under the
really a
rug.
dean.
Yeah. My first name is actually Dean. My middle name is Craig.
They set up this whether Annie is going to do anything with this information or not. But of course she is. That's going to be the episode. We know exactly where this is going. We come back to the Spanish room. Everyone's buzzing. It's 24 hours before the final. And the dean comes in with the news. Someone has told, it's very obviously Annie, to us because we just saw what happened. And the class is being explained that they've lost their teacher and they're going to get a new teacher. There's a little reference to when he faked his death at like a handful of episodes ago. Shirley's like, he's not faking his death again, is he? Because I can't handle that. I think there's some funny Dean stuff in this one.
Yeah.
Especially here in a second when he introduces their replacement teacher and he's like standing by and watching what's happening as the class interacts with their new teacher.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty funny. The way he words...
I received an anonymous tip that Chang had misrepresented certain aspects of his qualifications, for instance, having them. Word of advice. If an Asian man says he's a Spanish teacher, it's not racist to ask for proof, okay? You ignore your mother's voice and get right into that horse's mouth.
That's totally what happened.
That's exactly
Chang
what
said, I'm a Spanish teacher, and the dean was like, I don't know about that. And he's
Like, oh, well, let me
wouldn't
see
that be
your
racist?
resume. Where did you...
Oh, and he is, as we learn in the season 2 Halloween episode, he is the racist, what was it, the racist prover?
Yeah. Something like that, right? The racist prover.
So Annie, of course, is the one who's like, well, what does that mean about our grades? Are they invalid? And the dean does say, no, that's not fair to you guys. So we'll just bring in a new teacher and we'll start you where they were at, and you'll just finish it out that way. And we're introduced to their stern, no-nonsense, fluently Spanish-speaking professor.
Yes.
What do you think of all this? What do you think of this character? I think she's pretty funny.
I do. I'm a fan of, is it Escotera? Something like that. I think she's very funny. And
Yeah, Miss Carbonara really adds a lot to the episode.
yeah, so
Certainly.
So I have kind of a real-life connection to this story, Zach.
Okay,
because-
this is where this comes in.
Yeah, so basically the teacher comes in and she starts speaking in Spanish, and none of the students know what the hell's going on. They're like, we don't know that, because they've been being taught by
College,
somebody.
high school. Sorry, I missed.
High school.
Okay.
High school. This is probably my freshman year, I think.
Okay.
And I was in Spanish 1, right? So similar situation. We had a teacher, and she was a Spanish-speaking teacher, and she was fine. But I think she was having some like issues outside of school at the time. But essentially, like, our class would start, and she'd say, "Me llamo Smart Cookie," and so that was what we would say in Spanish. That's how we would start the class. So we were learning Spanish, at what we thought was a fine, rate. But
We're learning very basic.
yeah, but we had a lot of substitute teachers in. There was a lot of kind of times where we didn't do a whole lot in the class. But essentially, she ended up leaving at one point during the year, and we got an actual Spanish teacher came in, and we were all way, way behind everything, right? So we were like, okay, let's play some catch up. Now, this teacher ended up coming back a little bit, and there was an incident that I'll tell a story in a later day, but I ended up asking to be switched to a different class. So I got switched to a different Spanish teacher's class, and I get there, and I didn't know anything that they were working on. Like, they were like probably 3 or 4 months ahead of where our class was, like in curriculum wise. And the teacher was like, okay, listen, I know that you're really far behind, but just don't tell the other students. I absolutely told the other students because I was not trying to rock with that. But yeah, so I definitely can relate to not knowing any Spanish, and then a real Spanish class comes up and you're like, shit, I don't know any of this.
That is exactly what the situation's like, because they're like, they're like, how many of the 3 chapters is this test going to cover? And
Literally.
she says 20. But first it's this back and forth of like her saying stuff in Spanish to the class for like a call and response. And each time the class is just like, see. Was that you on your first day in that other class?
Absolutely.
And that was me in every Spanish class, I'll be honest. I've learned enough to comprehend some, but I've never been very good at trying to speak it. I love how the dean just like looks one direction to the other direction. He's like, great. He says, wow, you guys sound like a what was it, like an embassy. But yeah, it's not going to be just the 3 chapters that they've covered. It's going to be 20 chapters of the book that are covered in the book, the whole book. And she wants all the students to speak in Spanish when they're in class, which is a common thing, but not something Chang had been doing at all.
Well, and we get another great Pierce joke when he asks, like, what's going to be on the final, and she's like, in Espanol. He's like, well, I know it's going to be in Spanish,
I know it's in
dummy.
Spanish. Yeah. it's nice that he just said dummy.
Yeah.
It could have gotten a lot worse.
Right?
She tells them that sternly, they're going to be taking a standard exam for students at their level. It'll cover the entire textbook, because they're at the end of the year, so that's everything that they should have done. And Jeff, to close out this little scene, he gets one of his worst lines of the week, which is El Crapo.
El Crapo.
Was it Saved by the Bell?
Right?
Sounds like a Saved by the Bell line. I don't know. Every Spanish class I ever took was a bunch of white people that are like, I don't know. It's like when I go to a Mexican restaurant with my family, and I try to respectfully pronounce.
It, don't they?
I'll try to respectfully pronounce, even though I don't I will be the first to say that I can't do it correctly. I'll try my best, and I'll try to be respectful. And then my family will be like, I'll try the chimichanga. How about with some of them jalapenos? That's not really how my family talks, but I like to think there's a difference.
The thing is your mom
Spanish
is so
classes
sweet,
are like
but
in
I can
Indiana.
absolutely see her doing that. Whereas my mother,
you eat here every week. You know how to say it by now.
right? So my mom doesn't do that, but she does adopt the accent of whoever she's talking to, and I've tried to stop it.
I get that. It's like I know people who have moved to a foreign country, and it's like you've been there a week,
Yeah.
and your accent.
Hello.
Anyway.
I have to admit, when I lived in France, I absolutely spoke English with a French accent.
Well, I'm sure it's common when you're there for a longer period of time, but whatever. Can we hear a little bit of it? Can you still do it?
Speak English with a French accent. It's basically just saying in between your words, like you don't know what you're saying. It's like you know how we want to watch the episode, we have to see that Jeff Winger and Annie.
I reject all notion of this.
It was bad.
All right, now it's 20 hours to the final. Everyone's really stressed because all of a sudden the test is going to be a lot harder and different than they expected. Do you think Chang made his own test? I don't think he'd go that far.
I think that Chang probably Google searched easy Spanish test. Or the tests were ridiculous. It was probably a test where it wasn't even written. He would just get in your face and say something in Spanish, and as long as you said something back, then you'd pass.
You'd be like, correct, next. Yeah, I could see something like that happening. Troy couldn't understand a word she was saying and has a really funny line about why is she teaching Spanish if she's a doctor? Go cure something.
I appreciated that line.
That is a funny line. Jeff's got to pass or else his entire plan will be torn off, and he needs to get that lawyer license, even though whenever he does graduate Greendale, it's with a degree in education and not in law, which is interesting choice.
It's fine.
And Abed has that line about knowing exactly what his car is and what the car alarm sounds like on that type of car, and he tells Jeff to look. I think your car is getting with, and it is. We cut over to Chang, who is standing on top of Jeff's Lexus, smashing the shit out of it with a keytar.
Oof.
It's a pretty iconic Chang visual.
It is.
You had a what?
Well, I was going to say, how do you feel about this scene? Because it is an iconic Chang thing, but, there have to be some sort of consequences for Jeff's car getting smashed by a keytar.
Sure. Sure. That's his home. Or it was for a while, at least.
All the memories. But then Jeff, of course, points out that Chang is wearing goggles while he's destroying the car, which I think is only responsible to do.
Yeah, safety first. And something lame. Ken called himself out. This is because he said this himself. He's like, it's because I'm a pussy. And whenever he does anything on set, he wasn't even probably really hitting the car with the guitar. Because there was broken windshield glass, he insisted to wear safety goggles. So
That's
they added in a
funny.
line about it.
That's pretty funny.
And he says on the Darkest Timeline podcast sometime, which is apparently coming back soon.
Ooh.
That he says all the time that he would always be the one to be like, oh, you're pouring coffee on me. Just please make sure it's at a temperature of about. He was always that guy on set. He was not doing any stunts. He was not doing anything like that.
That's really funny.
But I respect it.
Yeah.
If you've got enough power on set to say something about like that, honestly, do whatever you want.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Millions of people have seen my genitalia. That carries some weight around here.
I thought you were speaking as yourself for a second.
Oh, no, not that many.
Chang's doing this because he assumes, and I can see why he would be certain it's Jeff, that Jeff has ratted on him. Mm-hmm. But he literally didn't do it. And Chang is smashing up someone's car for no reason. So they struggle over a keytar on top of his car, and the guards who resemble Troy and Abed show up and stun them with stun guns. It's always interesting on shows like this to see what actors can do good I'm being electrocuted acting and which can't. In this case, Kim Jong can kind of do it. Joel McHale, not so much.
Yeah.
He makes some good faces, but Chang's kind
Chang
of
is like fully
convulsions,
convulsing, yeah.
and Jeff's mostly just chilling.
Yeah, Jeff is just kind of writhing a little bit, but not like pulsing. Yeah, Chang's is pretty good. There's the funny part, the I'm peeing. That's kind of
his delivery of I'm peeing is quite funny. I'll give Joel that. Mm-hmm. Now we cut back to one of my favorite through lines of the episode, Troy being taken under the wing of the plumbing world.
Yeah.
I like how it cuts right to him walking into the bathroom, sucking stuff off his fingers. And you're kind of like, okay, what's going on?
Right?
He goes into the bathroom to wash his hands, naturally, as you do after you've just eaten hallway cake. Mm-hmm. And there just so happens to be a wrench ready for him to use. And he fixes it. But it was all a ploy by the head janitor to see his talent up close. Still way better than Good Will Hunting, right?
Oh, by far.
This episode should have been called Great Troy Barnes.
I think this scene has more black people in it than all of Good Will Hunting.
The janitor set this up to see Troy's stuff in up close. And Troy's... Donald's play off of, like, the guy who's like... Yeah, I know I got the talent, but I just got like that part of the movie where the guy like knows he's got it, but he's like, oh, but I gotta do this for my family, or like I gotta learn instead. I think Donald plays off this aspect of Troy pretty well.
Yeah, he does. His monologue that he has in a minute, it's really good. Like, knowledge, what's up here?
Thoughts. That's definitely a meme.
Yeah, thoughts. But toilets and sinks are real things.
And I really like the way that the plumber janitor guy delivers all this when he's like, you could do something that matters, do something that makes sense. And let me be honest with you, I almost wish that I was inclined with a skill like plumbing or like electric work, or because it's important work that pays well, that you don't really all you have to do is be able to do it. Yeah. And it's a comfortable life, and instead I'm like, what if I made a community podcast? You know what I mean? That's not making me shit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It'd be nice to like be handy, cuz I'm really not.
Yeah, so Troy in this scene is really me when it comes to like finding any direction in life. It's like I'm learning knowledge, thoughts, except I'm not in school. I'm just
and you have no hope of ever understanding HBO.
Huh? One of these days, The Sopranos, I don't get it.
Where's
the Emerald City? Come on.
When's Barry coming back?
Well, the pandemic cut off all filming, so they haven't filmed any of season 3, but they're gonna film season 3 and season 4 at the same time, so they can try to do them a little bit quicker.
Nice, I like that.
Troy's monologue is well delivered, but it makes absolutely no sense.
Which track?
He's just rattling off stuff and then writes off dramatically, and that might be another like jab at Good Will Hunting.
It might be.
Just saying. I like the delivery of, you could be a plumber. He says it again more to himself. You could be a plumber. And Abed comes out of the stall. He was there the whole time. And there's this really awkward, hey. It's a good scene.
Yeah.
That plot line is totally one of the highlights of this episode. The main story works pretty well. So now we're getting closer to the final. Everyone's studying hard in the study room. They're making progress, but Britta says,
at this rate, if we don't sleep or pee, we can cover about 10% of the exam.
Oof. They're just going to be guessing on this stuff, and I've definitely been there. Mm-hmm. They all feel defeated, and Jeff's thinking, why even take the exam? We're all going to be retaking it in the fall. And this is what starts to give away that Annie had something to do with this. Because when he says retake Spanish in the fall, everybody, And Annie, ooh. And Jeff putting that together and then explaining it to the class, I think is a good Jeff moment.
I do too. I like this scene.
It's a good detective moment where he hears it. He can when he recreates it. It's funny. It does well.
Oh, Abed is the only one who couldn't do it.
Okay. Everyone starts curling their tongue because that's Annie's kind of like, she's putting it off of it being her. So she's like, oh, it's just one of those things like rolling your tongue, which I can't do. Jeff is seeing right through it. You know, she's obsessed with them all staying together. Pierce allows Jeff to take her a little bit hostilely. And Jeff knows exactly what's going on. He's like, you record all your classes. You must have recorded what happened. Abed's able to clear what happened because he remembers like a log of everything that ever happens. And yeah,
I really like how he kind of turns the study table into a courtroom, you know, with Judge Pierce and Abed is the scribe, the clerk, you know.
Certainly.
And I also like how he, you know, when Annie starts to resort to her go-to tactics to get the heat off of her, he, you know, makes sure that he tells the study, he's like, don't fall for it, you know, because Jeff falls for it more than anybody else.
Sure.
You know, so he's for real right now. He's upset, and I agree. He is definitely very warranted here.
The Abed moment in this is one of my favorite Abed moments to date when he's talking about, oh, you don't have to worry about me. I only feel things about, and then looks at Annie's face and cocks his head and goes, movies. And the way that he delivers his softness of heart.
Right. And then I also love where Jeff is like, quick, she's the Ark of the Covenant. And he covers his eyes instantly. Oh,
no. He makes everyone close their eyes, and everyone does it. And it's funny. This is why I said it's my funniest moment. This scene builds in a way that Community does so well.
Yeah.
Jeff tells them all to picture her as if she's Paul Giamatti, which everyone's like, ugh. And then another good Pierce who's like, oh, come on. I like that.
Oh, Pierce.
Jeff yells some nonsense about the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which I've never seen.
So when I was watching this
I'm pretty
episode
sure they mailed each other
earlier,
pants.
I had to, you know, do some research about Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants because I was like, what the hell's that movie about? It's literally about some friends that mail each other pants, and the pants fit them all, but when they wear the pants, good things happen.
What's the second one about?
These friends, they have a pair of pants that they mail around, and they all fit in them, and when they wear the pants, good things happen. Starring America Ferrera and Amanda Seyfried, and 2 other girls.
And if you want to join the Sisterhood of Traveling Community merch,
you can't disappoint a pants cast.
Join our giveaway that we're doing.
You can't.
At some point, we got to do a secret word. I'm putting you on the spot. Steven, what is this week's giveaway? Secret word.
This week's secret word is keytar.
Okay, noble. So you heard that there. That's one of your 3 ways to get into our giveaway. You can DM us keytar to any of our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram specifically, for 2 entries. And you can review our podcast, take a snapshot of it. And if you've previously reviewed our podcast, you can take a snapshot of that, and that will accept as well for 3 entries.
Yeah.
Keytar.
So get those entries so you can win this really awesome prize pack that we got coming your way.
That secret word will be valid until next week's episode on the 16th of November.
Remember.
All right, back into it. Jeff's just railing into Annie, calling her immature, calling her, you know, that she just needs to grow up. And Shirley's upset. She says, you know, we'd all hang out anyway. And Annie's been in situations like this before, you know. She felt close to her rehab group. And then they all say they're gonna stay connected, but the only person she's connected to is the bottle cap jewelry making person. But I feel like a friend group made at rehab and a friend group made at school are different things. The people that you meet at rehab probably shouldn't. You know, you should probably just go off and do your own thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Because normally rehab's a place where they're like, all right.
And that's definitely speaking from experience, right, Steven?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's where we met, and look at our relationship. It's terrible.
Yeah. We met in rehab. I'm like, do you watch Community? We should Zoom later.
Yeah, I was having an episode where I was pretending to be little Annie Adderall, and you know, because of the medicine we were on, he looked like Troy to me, and I looked like Jeff to him. So it was love at first sight.
So Annie storms off crying, and this brings up again the sort of moral dilemma of this episode. Annie did the wrong thing here. She did bad. But she didn't do anything wrong. She, Chang probably shouldn't be teaching these people.
Yeah.
But her motives were definitely wrong, but they're also a little sweet because she's just doing it because she loves her friends. Jeff is being really mean to her, which is justified because she could be keeping him from regaining his career. But also, he cares about her and isn't treating her with respect. Where do you fall on this? Who do you think that Annie's?
I
really
definitely
at fault?
fall more on Jeff's side here.
I do too.
I think that it's one thing to want them to take a class together, and it's another thing to put people's grades when they're paying for an education at risk. Because I mean, Shirley's a single mom. She's got to pay for, if she has to retake that class, she has to pay to retake that class,
Yeah, but you've got to work into it also that Chang was legitimately needing to get caught for what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think that there is 14 hours left in the semester.
Sure.
And you can tell him during the summer.
Sure. That's true. So they fail the exam. They stay in Spanish forever. They have to beat Annie is what Jeff is saying. They need to study. They need to do it without Annie. And they need to pass the test so she doesn't get her way, which is also a bad thing. They should just pass the test to pass the test.
Yeah.
But, they can't even study without Annie because she's the one who usually handles stuff like that.
Animal grunting.
40 minutes into and until the final, we're still playing stress-reducing sounds at Greendale from the sounds of the Serengetis we mentioned during trivia. You were right there. I did not notice how sensual of a pose Abed and Britta were in together. They're all asleep after God knows how long they've been studying, and Abed and Britta are holding each other
Snuggled up.
and cuddling. In ways that I'm not even comfortable touching my own significant other.
Yeah.
It's like a Zach and Steven type.
Yeah,
intimacy.
that's for real love right there.
It isn't for us, but if other people do the things that we do,
It's purely
it would
carnal
probably
on
be
this
love.
side.
And we often play antelope slaughter at Ndutu as we do our thing too. They're all woken up by the screeching antelope. They think they might have missed the final, but it's about to start. Pierce won't wake up, and as always, when he doesn't show up or won't wake up, they think that he's probably dead. But Jeff just says discrimination lawsuit, and he's there I am. And Jeff says another thing along the lines of Annie, do Spanish, and everyone's ready. This is when we get a little bit of a conflict in the Troy and Abed friendship. It's interesting that they're bringing this up into this small plot line with only a few minutes left in the episode. Abed says, I saw you in the bathroom, and I think that you should do it. It seems like you're good at it. You should go do what you're good at. And Troy is basically like, I'm going to be sophisticated and not have a job. Or basically the way I feel, it's like I'm gonna be learned but not have any actual skill. And Abed gives a speech that's from a movie. I don't know exactly what movie
It's from Good Will Hunting.
It is from Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, Matt Damon or Ben Affleck tells Matt Damon that every morning when he goes to pick him
sure.
up, he hopes that he won't show up.
Sure. Yeah, he gives him that speech and is like,
Troy, you know what the best part of my day is? For about 10 seconds, from the time I sit down in Spanish to the time I look at your desk, because I think maybe I'll look and he won't be there.
what does that
Yeah,
mean?
Troy's like, what the you're my best friend. What do you mean?
The class is arriving for the Spanish final. There's a really funny Shirley line here where they're talking about how they feel this test is gonna go.
Our horoscope predicted suffering. No, that's good. Horoscopes are the devil trying to trick us.
That was almost my intro line was, hi, I'm Steven, and the horoscopes are the devil trying to trick us.
Do you read horoscopes?
I don't read it, but I know what my sign is, and if I'm feeling extra schoolgirly and I have a crush on somebody, I may see what it says.
I'm
when it
kind of a
pops up.
skeptic towards stuff like that, but it has nothing to do with whether or not there's any validity or proof to it. It's just I don't believe in anything. So I'm just kind of, if you're like, oh man, I saw a snake outside, I'm like, didn't prove it. No, you didn't. Where's the picture?
Right.
So yeah, I look at horoscopes sometimes, but I've never been one to feel much of anything because of it.
Yeah, I don't put too much weight in it, but I will say after teaching and like working in special ed, I have noticed like behavioral changes when it's like a full moon or like Mercury's and like retrograde and shit like that.
Sure.
Like there are some like when you're like kind of observing people, noticeable changes that happen. Now, I don't know why that is. The waves, tides, I don't know how all that works, but the
All
bean
right.
system is the way.
They're all getting ready to take the exam, and Abed looks behind to his buddy's desk as he says that he does every day, and he's not there. And he feels happy about it. But it's just because the bit that you said that you liked, Troy sitting on the other side of the room, and he's like, does that make you happy? You're a bad friend, so I'm going to sit over here. And then he explains the situation to Starburns.
And Troy's like, why would you say that?
It's from a movie. Then
The
the
movie
movie
it's
it's
from
from
is
is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't like Good Will Hunting. Mm-mm. The test is about to begin. They're all a little bit worried because Annie hasn't shown up yet. But Jeff holds strong. Don't worry about it. Don't take her ploy for attention. And the other people are starting to say, well, no, Annie isn't the type of person that would miss a test. If she's not here, we should probably make sure she's okay. So Jeff very quickly makes a change in judgment, and they all start speaking in Spanish as they stand up to say, let's go see what's going on with Annie.
I thought this was all pretty funny.
Let's go try to save our friend. They think that she's in trouble and that they can help her. And it is a really funny kind of cliche where Troy's like, Annie's our friend and we're going to go save our friend and you can't stop us.
Yeah.
And they all storm out of the class, and their new Spanish teacher, she doesn't say anything.
Pierce
says, land of fire. Starburns knows what's going on here and that he can get out of a test. This is a move that I can get behind. Mm-hmm. He stands up and he's like, well, she's my friend too. And
he said, I'm friends with Hannah
have
too.
a test without a class. We love Hannah. And the entire class goes out chanting, we love Hannah. I should have tried that one in school.
I feel like there were a couple times that like we students did do something, because wasn't there like a walkout? Was that our senior year?
I don't remember. What was it for? Who cares, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was something.
I know there have been some since we've graduated.
It might have been a gun violence. Maybe it was a gun violence. Maybe it was when I worked at the school.
That probably was.
That
I
would
think
track.
I remember when.
I think it was
still
like a
had
school
friends that
shooting
yeah.
thing. And they like walked out.
And after that walkout, there was never a case of gun violence in a school ever again.
Never again.
They fixed it.
You know
Congrats,
what ours
guys.
was that we did, Zach? Remember when our entire, I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, and people might not know what this means, but when our like entire senior class sat down during the pep rally when we were supposed to be standing competing for the spirit stick.
I didn't do that. I didn't do that shit.
You didn't sit down? You stayed
No.
standing? What a bitch. Or you didn't go?
No, I was there, and I was like, school spirit!
See, I was like,
I don't know the story behind it.
I think we just knew we weren't going to beat the juniors because they had T-shirts.
See, that's a bullshit attitude.
Well, I'm not saying it's not.
So then don't be down on me for still being like school spirit.
No one's down on you except for you, Zach.
Damn. We are literally like the only class that's ever not won it when they're graduating. It
Yeah, we were
always
the
goes
worst.
to the seniors because it's their last chance.
Because it's their last chance.
And maybe if you guys hadn't done that,
yeah,
but
I
you guys
think
were
we
like,
started
we're
with
special. We're
I think that our class was just bad. It was a bad class.
maybe you were bad.
Ooh,
Maybe you were real bad.
how bad?
So they're outside the door where they hear Annie screaming, like a blood-curdling scream that we've heard from Annie before. And Jeff kicks the door in to see what's happening, and it's Chang and Annie and the guitar, and Chang's playing the guitar, and he's sampled Annie's scream as a sound, and he's making a song out of it. The magic of electronic sampling. Interesting. So Annie has become connected to Chang somehow and kind of become like a life coach for him to try to help him figure out what he's going to do now that he can't be a teacher. This is kind of the beginning of the setup for, in season 2, Chang's going to be a student. And that's one of my favorite Changs, so I'm excited for that.
I think it is, too. Like, I love Senior Chang, the teacher, but I think Chang, the student, is up there with that, too. I can't wait till we get to the masterpiece that is Changnesia.
It'll be interesting to talk about those episodes, for sure. Mm-hmm. But we're safe now. They can't hurt us yet.
They can't hurt us yet. Kevin's not real.
Chang is talking about how, maybe he'll take music lessons, and everyone tries to be supportive of that while he does something horrid on the guitar.
Yeah, Britta does a really... Well, I'll say Gillian Jacobs does a really good job as Britta, doing like a pained, really like condescending, like, maybe you should take some music classes.
and Chang does like the grateful hands and is like, thanks, you. Now we get a good Jeff and Annie scene that touches all the right moments. They make up, they explain where they were both coming from, and there are just some small little hints of Annie doing things because of the type of reaction she wants to get out of Jeff, or because she wants to keep Jeff around. She dressed a certain way to look like a professor. Jeff's been known to be attracted to professors. Maybe there's a line to draw there. Mm-hmm. And I think Jeff kind of sees it for a second, too, when he's like, what? Why? When she mentions that. I think it's a tiny Jeff and Annie moment in the ending of an episode that was largely Jeff versus Annie, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, it's nice because they, their friendship is important, and I think that it's, I still don't know why Jeff was like, here's what I'll say. I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. It's a little weird that he'd be like, hey, Annie, you're not exposing your breasts today. That's not necessary. You don't have to cover them up.
You should smile more, sweetheart.
Yeah, hey, you don't have to dress like a travel agent. Be a little sexy, why don't you? But that's just me playing devil's advocate. I don't think that was the intention of the line or anything, but...
And okay, so all of these conflicts are being fixed very quickly, and that's not uncommon for a show that only has a few minutes, this many characters. There's only so much you can do. I can forgive it, but the conflict between Troy and Abed came up very quickly, and it goes away just as quickly.
Yeah,
Abed just makes the right. They're talking about The Wire. Troy says something about, like, some of this makes sense to me and the rest of it doesn't. And Abed's like season 1 of The Wire. And Troy, well, exactly, I can't stay mad at you. And then they're friends again.
Yeah, I still have not watched The Wire.
I've never seen The Wire 2. And I know that that's, like, as a lover of TV, it's considered by many one of the very best TV series of all time.
We're slacking.
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
I'm too busy talking for 2.5 hours about a 20-minute episode.
Let me finish the season of Misadventures of Flapjack, and I'll get right to you.
I have been watching through, well, not steadily, but I've been watching Animaniacs a little bit because there's new episodes coming soon.
I think the new Animaniacs actually looks solid because I love Wacko's Wish, one of my favorite animated movies of all time.
I don't disagree with you.
Should make me cry like a baby.
Animaniacs, the show, isn't quite like that, but it's very funny, and it's got a lot of adult humor that holds up really well.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it.
So Troy and Abed are fine. They do the thing. They do the clap clap, which is always nice. I think it's maybe only like the second time we've seen them do it.
Second or third.
Shirley and Britta share a hug that Pierce tries to insert himself into, and it ends it like that. And now we've got a group unified moment. Everyone's together as a family, and they're ready to tackle whatever's next, whether that means finding a new class together. They all agree to take anthropology, or taking Spanish again if they've all failed this test, as they're walking towards getting the results.
Also, do you notice the linking of arms there between Britta and Abed that whole time they were walking? Mm-hmm.
And that's, by the way we usually look at these episodes, the end of the episode. Because the end tag is a little bit different this week. It's not something that's removed from the episode. For the first time, other than maybe like the pilot, it's the conclusion of the episode over the end tag. Yeah. And I'll say this, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but longtime listeners will know I used to talk about some of these episodes feeling like a different community that's more in line with the type of show the first couple episodes set up. And this episode feels like kind of like the finale of that.
Like almost
And
like they wrote like, okay, let's write like 8 episodes or like 10 episodes. Like this
it's
would have
like
been
an
the
arc.
finale of that 10 episodes. Totally.
Yeah. And I think it having an end tag that's different from the rest of the show kind of fits into that bizarro community that I've seen a couple of times.
Yeah.
And this is one of the best of those episodes, I think.
I think definitely. This has like been a really enjoyable watch for me. I mean, it's obviously not quite at the level at like, you know, Modern Warfare or a
There's nothing
American
showy
Poultry.
about it.
But it's
good for the characters. It's true to the characters. There's a conflict that makes sense and is like a real world conflict. And it's a complicated, layered conflict where there's not exactly someone who's totally in the right or totally in the wrong. And yeah, I feel really
like
good
it.
about it. And honestly, with the election and stuff going on and feeling so unnerved and uncertain, this wouldn't have been one of the episodes of Community I'd go right to for a distraction, but I couldn't think of a better episode of Community to have been a distraction. It just took me into that simple, lower stakes world with characters that I love. It felt like a warm hug, and it was a lot of fun to swim around in it for a while. This NTAG, they're all getting their test scores, which we showed our prowess at looking at these test scores and memorizing them and seeing who's the smartest and who's not. And it's great that everybody passed. And it's great to see that this study group that goofed around a lot more often than they actually studied to have an episode where they do actually study. They kind of address that. They make up the difference, and they pass the class. It's satisfying to see.
It really is. I like the little misdirect from Abed.
Yeah, does one of those Ryan Seacrest American Idol elimination things where he's like, and the last one goes to, or like they're like, and I'm sorry, you won't be moving on, or he's like,
I'm sorry, you'll have to stay around here for another
pack
week.
your bags.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. They all pass Spanish, and they're setting up that they're gonna probably take anthropology together. Annie does mention, did anyone else think that the test seemed really easy? And this sets up why this happened. They didn't take the real test. They didn't pass with flying colors, even though they studied really hard. Pierce banged the new Spanish teacher.
Hey,
and he didn't brag about it. And he did it as a good deed for the people.
He really did. He did it for his friends.
Yeah. I'm sure he didn't just do it for his friends, but
The
episode ends with Pierce and this teacher sharing a nice moment where the teacher's like, hey, let's do this again. I'll make breakfast next time. And there's some heat between the two of them. She walks off. Pierce like awkwardly walks one direction backwards and then the other direction. He's just lost.
I was certain he was going to crash into that trophy case.
And then we never see the teacher ever again.
Yeah. But overall, really good episode. I really enjoyed it.
Sure, I liked it a lot too. Let's talk about our MVPs. And I want you to go first because I'm still deciding.
Okay, well, I'll say I made this pick after the first one, and I surprised myself with this pick. But I'll give my honorable mention first. It's to Troy Barnes, my favorite character in the show. Troy had a really good episode, referenced my favorite movie. All the ingredients were there for him to be my MVP this week without question, right?
He just wasn't enough of the focus, maybe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it to one Pierce Hawthorne.
Like
Because
MJ said, he thought it was the clear MVP as well.
Pierce is it for me. I think that not only him being the one who actually helped them get through that class because of, sleeping with the teacher, but his throughout the whole episode, his one-liners and I can't get
and
past
his improvs were pretty funny.
Jump.
Yeah.
All
I think
really
that's
good.
totally valid. In interest of being very close to the end of the season, next week we'll give out our last MVPs of the season before we tally up who the overall MVP is. And in interest in making that a little bit more interesting, I'll throw a curveball and give my MVP this week to Annie Edison. Even though I think what she did was wrong, I think the episode used her character really well, and they gave her motivation, and they treated her as a believable human character with wants and desires, and Allison Brie played it off really well. So it's not exactly a MVP to the funniest character, but to the person that I think had a really satisfying episode for their character.
I think that there's easily 4.5 people that you could pick for the MVP this one. I think Jeff could have been picked even. I think Chang could have slipped in there as a surprise MVP. This is a solid episode.
Chang was a runner-up for me. It was a solid episode. And again, like I said, if they had added a Jeff Britta resolution, it could have been the season finale.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll talk about the season finale, which is called Pascal's Triangle Revisited. And it's a little bit of a divisive episode for the Community fan base. A lot of people don't care for the season finale. And honestly, for me, when Community tries to do big bombastic season premieres or finales, it doesn't really work for me. An episode like this that was just a low-key episode with some stakes works a lot better for me. Next week's the one with all the dances, and there's the love triangle, and I think Slater comes back. There's a lot going on next week, and I'm excited to tearing it apart with you. Send us in trivia and MVPs and favorite moments from that episode to us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. And also, make sure to enter this giveaway we're doing. To recap, you can get the complete series of Community on DVD, Troy and Abed in the Morning mug and T-shirt, and a couple Community stickers that are really cute. Something like a $6,000 value.
Yeah, easy.
Can all be yours. And there are 3 ways to enter that you can do all of to get yourself the most entries possible.
Yeah.
You can do what, Steven?
They can retweet the tweet that we will post on Twitter. And be following us on Twitter to also have that count. They can DM us the secret word, which we said earlier in this episode, which you can send that to our Twitter at You Can't Disappoint a Pod. You Can't Disapod, I mean. You can send it to our Instagram at You Can't Disappoint Podcast. And you can send it to us on Facebook if you really feel like it. You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. And the third and final way that will earn you triple the points of just a simple retweet is to leave us a review on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Screenshot it and email it to us at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com.
Very good. And for all things You Can't Disappoint Podcast, you can find us all over the place. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as Steven has mentioned. You can find us on YouTube. We've been doing some live stream stuff every now and then over the last couple weeks that have been fun. You can find us all over the place. We're always doing something. We're looking forward to next week to talking about the season finale of the first season with you. And we'll be giving away a second secret word to give you some extra entries into the drawing. What was that secret word again, Steven, for this week?
This week's secret word was keytar. Now that is not guitar with a hillbilly accent. That is keytar.
Don't say the K 3 times. Steven, as we're wrapping up this week, it's been great to come back after taking a couple weeks off and to spend a little bit of a really hectic week focusing on some silly stuff. What do you have to say to the people that are spending their time with us?
Well, this election has had what looks like more people voting than ever. And that makes me really happy.
with Joe Biden as the most voted for candidate of all time.
Low diff.
Cough.
But because of that, even though a lot more people voted maybe the way that I hoped they wouldn't, the fact that people got out and voted makes me really happy and makes me optimistic for the future of this country, because it makes me really optimistic. My phone's on silent. It's just talking to me.
Okay.
It makes me really optimistic for the future of this country because it means that young people are voting again, and they haven't since 2008, So I think that is promising, and I just hope that, if things go the way that at this moment in time, I'm cautiously optimistic they will go.
Again, this being Thursday, we do not know who the president is.
We literally do not know who the president of the United States is.
Donald Trump could very well be reelected, and Joe Biden has a very clear path to the White House as well. We have no idea.
Yeah. So I'm just, with my fists clenched, I am hanging on to hope.
That being said, and that's all good and all, but a lot of people, the second most voted for candidate of all time is someone who I believe is a racist and who stokes action from white supremacists and from hateful people all around the world. Mm-hmm. And in response to the results so far of this election, we are not seeing them back down. And they are not going to back down if Joe Biden wins. They are not going to back down if the president wins. We're in a really divided country. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be tough no matter what. There's still a lot of work to be done. And I have faith that the people that we've built this community with are going to do that good work. So to clear things up for this week, wild week here at You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And from inside the Dreamatorium, Black Lives Matter, and hopefully by the time this airs, that will be out of the office.
Pray to damn God.
Thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you next week. Go
Thanks,
enter that
guys.
giveaway. Win yourself some shit.
See you next week. Win some stuff. Bye.
Bye.
Saturday in the park. I think it was the 4th of July.
And finals week when we were in school was certainly like that.
Yeah.
I can't. My mouse froze, and it's not on where I can press pause.
Is yours playing right now for you?
What do you mean?
I don't know, man.
Is it not for you?
No. It's paused.
The episode's paused?
Yeah. Right where
It's
it says
n-
48 hours to Spanish final.
For real?
Yeah, that's not
It's
a good
not
sign.
for me.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Chang's in the classroom. He's talking to Winger in
No,
private.
man, I'm sitting with you hovering over the pause button at 2 minutes 11 seconds.
I'm at 3:25.
Okay, let me
But that's... I
stop
don't
screen
think
sharing
that's-
and start again. Oh, wait,
But
you
my
can't use your
mouse.
mouse.
This might have to go like the end of the podcast.
Yeah. I'm a fan of, is it Escotera? Something like that. I think she's very funny. And can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
Can I get some water? My mouth is super duper dry. and my
Mine
cup is
too.
empty.
I turned off my air so there wasn't any noise, and it's pretty stuffy.
Yeah. Let me get some liquid drink.
Saturday in the park. Swore it was the 4th of July.
I think what you meant to say, Zach,
I don't know the words. What were the
was
words?
Sábado en el parque. Tiempo something 4 de julio. I don't know how to say the middle part. I don't remember.
Welcome back. Say something about the teacher.
Yeah, I think Miss Escotera, I can't remember exactly what it is, was really funny. And